I was literally terrified. I had to grieve LFL. I had to grieve the fact that I'm not with my sisters making content anymore. You should be married by now. But I mean, who made these rules?
Right.
Not every man you meet is going to be your husband. And that one is an exhale.
Liberate somebody.
I'm posting my friend Justin's celebration of her. People are now in my DMs. You next.
And I think people are using the internet to humble women, but it's not humility, it's shame.
Acknowledging the power of womanhood demands more from men. Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Renee.
And I'm Courtney.
And I'm Zoe.
Not the Powerpuff Girl.
And welcome to today's episode of the To My Sisters podcast, which is a special. As you see, we've got our girl Zoe with us, and today is a girls' night in. Welcome to our new series where we are going to be talking to our friends, women we love, people we adore, and just jumping into their stories, hearing their nuggets of wisdom,
The real
and seeing
rap.
their beautiful faces. It's girl chat, it's gist. We are just going to have a holistic conversation here at TMS. We are all about the holistic. What is it?
What we about again?
Holistic wellness, growth and development.
Growth and development, that thing.
Here at TMS, we are all about the wellness, growth and development of a community of sisters all over the world. And that wellness, growth and development is holistic.
Absolutely.
It is physical, spiritual, financial. When it comes to relational, that's the word. And we wanted to have a conversation with just different women we love in our lives. And the first woman is Miss Zoe.
Miss Zoe.
So, I mean, we could do the whole cliche, introduce yourself.
Absolutely.
But before we get into what you do, I wanted to tell you why we wanted you on the episode.
Oh, guys.
So,
Don't make me blush, guys. Like, I'm like black girl blushing. Like.
So you may have seen, if you came to our last live show in London, you probably saw Miss Zoe just
Milling
buzzing
around.
making sure that everybody was comfortable, just being a supporting sister. And that was your title as a volunteer. But that is very much something that you live by in life. You are very supportive, encouraging sister. I have been encouraged by many of your prayers, many of your words, and just watching you and your story and seeing how you carry yourself and how you have navigated through your life. And so it was a no-brainer for us to ask you to be at the event as a supporting sister, but it was also a no-brainer to have you on to talk about you.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. And we are very, very picky, as we were mentioning earlier, around having the guests on this show. As you know, we have only had one guest on this show. This show has been going on for over 2 years now, and we've only had one guest. And it, as Courtney said, it was literally a no-brainer to have Miss Zoe as the second guest, because we love your light, we love your honesty, your transparency, and for us, it was actually really important to bring someone we consider a sister on the podcast. So we're very much at home here, guys. This ain't just the, oh my gosh, she's amazing from afar, but we actually know her up close and personal, and she is incredible. So we're so excited to have you. Thank you for honoring the invitation and coming over.
Guys, I'm at the TMS. Are you guys crazy? I'm here with Miss Courtney. I'm here with Miss Renee. Thank you guys so much. You're a woman that I admire both of you. You're amazing. You're intelligent. You embody excellence for me. So to be here,
Could see you, please.
I needed this always.
We'll send you your invoice later.
So honestly, being here is like, it's a privilege as well. It's like even calling you my friends, my sister. So I'm grateful, happy to be here.
Yeah, oh man. So let's start at the beginning, right?
Okay,
so I guess for those of people who don't know you, you tell us about who you are, I guess what you do, where you are currively, whatever it may be you want to define yourself by.
Okay, so I wear a lot of hats, so sometimes I don't even know really where to start.
Multifaceted.
queen.
It's giving a multi-hyphenate.
multi something.
All right, run us through it. You got all the time.
Okay, so professionally, I'm a pharmacist. I trained as a pharmacist, and I've been practicing for coming up to 5 years. And I launched a business 2 years ago called Printy Planet, where we design and print wedding stationery. I also have a platform called Matters of the Heart. It's about the healing and the wholeness of women. God has really burned in my heart with women and women's needs. Just from my own life, I've been through a lot of brokenness and just emotional trauma. I don't say that as a victim, I thank God for the strength and the grace to overcome. But because of that, I feel like we're often sent back to the people that were like us for us to go back and help them. And so I feel like that's like the call upon my life. So I just do that, my podcast, and whatever else I'll be doing something. So that's kind of it, like the main silo summed up. But yeah, that's it really.
That's dope. So I guess starting there as a pharmacist, right? So you're a pharmacist by training, and you've been you downplayed it. You got a master's in pharmacy.
Hello, somebody educated babe in the building. Thank you.
Are a pharmacist.
African, it's like you gotta be educated.
So talk to us about that pivot, right? So you're now a business owner, and that's what you do full time. And your business isn't pharmaceuticals; it's printing and custom prints, which are phenomenal. I've been to many of our friends got married like over the last couple of years, and every time we go it's like, who made this board?
Printy baby Zoe, hello.
It was Zoe. So talk to us about that transition, that pivot.
So I just had the medical school dream. I wanted to be a doctor. I had settled in my mind I wanted to be a doctor, and then I didn't get into medical school. And I was so crushed by it, I never reapplied. And I always thought to myself, if I had reapplied, I probably would have got in. But I just didn't have it in me to receive that rejection again. So I ended up going to study radiotherapy and oncology for 1 year. And I absolutely hated it. It was like, I love learning. So there's like some physics, some other like learning anatomy. I'm like, oh, this is great. You know, it's fulfilling a desire of mine, like in terms of like science wise and like that kind of medical school. But when I just went on placement, I said, what is this? What in the world is this nonsense? No offense to anyone who does the job, but for me, I said, I can't do this for another year. So I ended up dropping out at the end of the year, not the mid of the year, but when they were asking me to re-enroll for second year, I said, I can't do it. If I go back, I'm going to lose my mind. So they emailed me, they're like, are you going to re-enroll? I'm like, no, thank you. I'm done here. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, yep. And I was like, yeah, 30 seconds of freedom. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did I go from being in university to I have no degree? I've dropped out. Like, this is not the path that was supposed to be like happening for me. I've always been good in school. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, now like, what do I do kind of thing? So I was like, my mum has been talking about pharmacy for years. Let me just go and apply to pharmacy school. Applied, got in, did the whole 4 years in pharmacy school. And I'm like, I hate this as well.
Oh no.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, it just wasn't what I wanted. And I was so unsatisfied. And so after I finished my degree, like I got a really good placement. I was working in GSK, and then I did a clinical
What's GSK?
Oh, GSK is GlaxoSmithKline. Okay. So they're one of the biggest drug companies.
Shout out to y'all.
Yeah. In the world, you should be paying us really for that kind of shout out.
I wanted to drop that sponsorship.
Yeah, honestly.
Hello at twomysisters.com.
But yeah, I did my placement with them, and I just I discovered an area called Global Health. And I ended up doing another master's in Global Health and Policy. So I'm like, I really loved this. I enjoyed this. And then I was working, and there's so much to this. I ended up going, I went to Switzerland. So I ended up working with the World Health Organization for a couple of months.
Damn.
Yeah. I want to who? I was a who girl. Yeah. I was in the
World Health Organization. They told you about COVID, you know.
Yeah.
There we go.
I was in who for 3 months. And then I came back and I'm like, I like it, but something feels empty about this. And I couldn't figure it out. And then as I'm like praying and I'm asking God, he kind of led me down the route of like entrepreneurship. Now, I've always kind of been an entrepreneur in like secondary school.
Right.
I was hustling, I was selling, I was shotting. Yeah, I had the canned drinks on Smash. Then I had some competitions. I had to start,
I won't even lie to you. I feel like people who sold canned drinks in particular,
listen,
because that's heavy.
What? I still got back issues. I'm sure so now.
Also, for the folks that are listening to us that are not from the UK, shotting is not selling drugs. By the way, shotting is just selling, candy, chocolate,
the candies,
snacks.
Yeah,
all those snacks.
Yeah, some small bites.
Small bites, picky bits.
Yeah, picky bits. You know what I mean? So sell the picky bits at school.
Yeah.
So I've always had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit. So, and then even like maybe I've discussed with my friends like starting businesses. I had like a hair business for a short period of time in university as well. And so I'm just like, why didn't you just try this properly? But what? So then I just ended up kind of following the leading of God. Like, I can't take any of the credit because it really wasn't me, because I wanted to just have a notebook company. I love a bit of stationery, me.
We love them
too.
We do.
And God is like, you need to think bigger than just a stationery company. Like, what if you're the manufacturer? I said, oh, I never thought of that before. So then out of that was birthed Printy Planet. And yeah, that's how I got here.
That's so cool.
Wonderful story.
So then did you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask real quick, because I think what's beautiful about pivoting often in hindsight is it seems like it all, matched up and worked out.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of like ladies in our community, it can be really hard to pivot when you're in it, or, you're currently in a track that you feel like is not for you. And it requires a bravery and a courage to really step outside and do something that is very much a tangent to what you're currently doing. So I wanted to ask, like, how did you get over that feeling of, this is completely different to what I was thinking and expecting for myself, and actually how did you build up the courage to basically say no to the things that you realized were not quite right for you?
How did I don't know if I built up the courage as such, but I just took steps that required a little bit of courage at a time, if you know what I mean. But I feel like we often feel like that, like I have to have this like mountain of courage before I step forward. But I just knew that I didn't want to be unhappy where I was anymore. And I was willing to be uncomfortable so that I could find some sense of happiness, because I'd been in everything I thought I wanted, working in GSK and like straight out of uni. Then a year later, working in the World Health Organization, I've reached points in my career that people are still praying about, And so I felt like God was showing me that you feel like you're going to find your everything in this, but I'm going to show you really quickly that you don't have, that it's not here for you, that this is not what I have for you. So I think in having that, like a part of my desires was satisfied in the fact that I've been someplace, I've seen some things, and I realized this wasn't for me. And so I'm like, I'm gonna have to be uncomfortable, and it's still uncomfortable now. This very minute.
Not this very minute.
But I think it requires you to make a decision. We often get stuck in life if we're not willing to make decisions about what we want for our future. So I decided I don't want this, and this is what I want, and I'm gonna have to take the necessary steps to get there, and I'm gonna have to grow and adapt. I don't really know what I'm doing right now, but I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to grow, I'm willing to take the risk on myself. And I think I realized in this whole journey, I've got a lot of belief in myself. Honestly, I think there's nothing I can't do, like, by the grace of God anyway. I really say there's nothing I can't do. Like, you see some jobs on LinkedIn, it's paying 100,000, you don't have the skill sets. In my mind, I say, I can do the job.
I'm gonna get it. Even if I fulfill only 15% of this job, I'm gonna apply for it, baby.
Facts. And that's a confidence that a lot of women in particular don't have. Because it's like, I think there's studies out there that women want to fit like 90% or something of a job's description or what they're asking for before they apply, whereas men are like, they can just tackle 50%, they're calm.
I can wing the rest of it.
Winging it. So this is actually a really great transition, or a segue, if you will, into talking about your current business and where you are in your business. Because one thing we love here at TMS is to just talk about what's happening behind the scenes, because especially as women, and women in like who are high flying or doing really well, like you've just described such an amazing story that shows that you are more than just competent, you are intelligent. And I think people see that and they think there's probably nothing that she admits that she cannot do or that she can't do, you know? And so we were having this conversation in the kitchen earlier about how we have both come to a point in our business where it was like, and we were talking about this last year, that this ain't a business. Like, you ain't doing a good job.
Business is just me.
It's not what you think.
You know what it makes? You know what it reminds me of? You know when somebody emails you and they're like, "Hi, can you forward this to the relevant person?" And the only person working in the team is you.
Right. It's when I was sending emails from my business account, like, we, the team, we're going to be working on your, we're so happy. Who is the grand we that we speak of? It is you.
We are morning, noon, and night.
It's just us here.
It's just me. Me. So we both got to this very similar place where we realized our businesses are great. They are great ideas, and we are great at what we are doing. However, if we want this to scale, we haven't got the capacity. So talk to me about when you got to, what was that realization for you with Printy Planet, and how have you been, I guess, working the business so that you can overcome that?
It was when I started working a stupid amount of numbers in a week. and I still needed more time.
Ooh.
And I began to hate it. I said, I hate this. I don't want anything to do with my business. I don't want anyone to talk to me about my business. I was like, yeah, Printy Planet, like, please keep quiet about that thing. It's become a thorn in my side. And I'm like, how did this thing that I've birthed and like my baby that I've nurtured and it's growing, you know, how have I begun to hate this? I knew I needed help at that point.
Right.
And I didn't know where to get started, you know, and I think someone started talking to me like, you need help, you need to bring people in. But I'm like, I don't know if these people are competent. I don't know if they're going to be able to serve my business in the way that I need them to. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep the standards that I have in my business. I need you to provide good customer service. I need you to have great turnaround times. I need you to be able to design to the standard that I think is fit. And like, if you don't do that, you're going to bring my name into disrepute. And, you know, people getting dragged every week on Instagram, on Twitter, especially black businesses. I said, that will never be me.
Amen.
That can't be me. I operate at a level of excellence and I want anyone that comes in my team to do that too. So I think I was like, I don't know. So I think I was then talking to you about in the kitchen about reading the book called The E-Myth. So if you haven't read it, it's like the E stands for like entrepreneurial myth. And basically it just tells you that you don't know how to run your business.
Big facts.
And like
straight from the introduction, that man was like, you don't know what you are doing.
You know what
Stop
you're
it.
doing.
Incompetent.
Incompetent.
Yeah, like
E for incompetent.
E for incompetent.
You are incompetent with an E.
With an E.
Yeah.
And that's how bad you
Yeah,
are.
incompetence. Like, and it's so humbling to actually think, I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it's actually refreshing to read I listened to the book.
Yeah, same.
And then realize, oh wow, I'm not the only one in this area of business doesn't know what the heck they're doing, because you feel like I'm making money and I'm getting customers, and I'm doing a good job.
That's the deceit.
It's
right?
a deceptive tactic.
Money, and like the money then doesn't even represent how much effort you're putting in. That's the thing about scaling and not having processes is at some point you're gonna reach full capacity,
100%.
and then you're gonna have to keep pushing. And in that, no amount of money is enough.
No,
like once you're so burnt out, you're so tired, you start to despise your business. It could pay you £1 million, but you're still in this place of hating it.
Yeah, hating it.
So yeah, that's a good point. Sorry. Back to the E-Myth.
Yeah, so no, absolutely. He told me I'm a fool. The E-Myth told me I'm stupid and I know nothing.
Idiot.
And if you don't change your ways, E for idiots.
God.
E for idiots.
E for idiot.
That book is serious, actually.
It dragged me by the collar.
Yeah.
It snatched my wig off and left me in the middle of the street with just my cornrows. I said, God.
And a business idea.
And a business idea. And it said, if you don't get your act together, your business is going to fail.
Right.
And it's like, I this can't fail. This cannot fail. And so at that point, it was actually just grace. Like I was speaking to somebody about my business and saying, oh, I'm struggling. I'm so overwhelmed right now. And she was like, oh, well, the Lord had actually laid it on my heart to help you months ago. And I was kind of just waiting for the right time. So she became my assistant. Right. Shout out, you know who you are. You are amazing. I love you. You are amazing. And like, she came on, she was competent. She knew what she was doing. So just being able to see like, wow, I can get some time back, that while I'm doing other things, someone else can take care of these matters, freed me, you know? But it just humbled me that I need to go and study. And I think it's a bit off track, but we need to dispel the myth of people want to start a business and we're like, oh, just start. I think that's the worst advice you can give anybody.
Go into it.
Hello, someone.
Attack me if you like. Fight me if you like. But it's not wise. You need information. You need to understand the area you're going into. Yeah. You've never done this before, so why do you think you can go into it with no information? You don't send out doctors who have had no clinical training, no theoretical understanding of the anatomy or disease or anything like that into a clinical environment and then tell them,
so she's selling you for real.
And then
this ain't an analogy.
This is an expertise. Thank you. E for expertise.
That's serious.
No, but go on. It's such a good point.
And no, you don't send them out like and then expect them to understand how to recognize if somebody's heart is failing or you know if they need to administer some kind of medication. No, they're trained for 5 years. I'm not saying you need like 5 years of education before you start a business, but there needs to be some level of education, like surrounding your business, like some level of study, so that when you start, you don't make a lot of mistakes. I've admired, you know, is it Crept?
Krypton Conan,
Yeah,
correct?
is it
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
started Knowledge Base.
Yeah,
I said,
yeah,
look how
yeah.
smooth this business is running, like a smooth steam train. He's come out, he had investors, it's in stores, he's launched it seamlessly.
Yeah,
It's
right.
been
Yeah,
beautiful
yeah,
to
yeah.
observe as an entrepreneur. I said,
Yeah.
this is the goal.
Yeah.
I don't want to be trying to promote something on my Instagram for how many years and like it's not. No,
Bruh.
he's thought things through. Like it's just he's out shooting music videos in the street
Yeah.
and he's making money.
Yeah.
This is every entrepreneur's dream.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not there yet,
Yeah.
but I want to be there. And so I need more education. I need more understanding. I need hands and feet, if you know what I mean, to help me do stuff so I can not just be the doer, but the visionary in the business as well.
That's
So
good. That's good.
Yeah.
Talking
You
today.
are for real, and it's such a good
Talking,
point. Like
talking.
so many of us don't assume the position of the visionary,
Right.
Yeah.
especially because we're not aware of business models,
Right,
right? Like, we're
right,
aware of
right.
business
That's good.
ideas, and a lot of us assume the position of like creative director
Yep.
more than we do managing director or CEO, where it's like, can you also balance that creativity with ops and thinking operationally?
That's good.
And I think that's where I went wrong with my business. But I think what that thing you're saying about education is so important because we live in a democratized world, especially with the digital space and the tools it provides anyone to become an entrepreneur by, whatever loose label you're wearing. It's kind of, no, because, some people, it's not, are you an
Right.
entrepreneur? You're a
Oh,
scammer.
you put CEO in your bio. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, anyway, we've talked about Company's House too many times.
Right.
And they owe me money, so I'm not even going
No,
to
don't
talk
kill
about
me.
them.
They too should sponsor an episode, to be
HMRC,
honest with you.
for real, actually. But so many people wear that hat, but they don't actually know how to navigate the space because
100%.
they lack so much knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because so many of us are used to business models, which are just, I had an idea, I set up an Instagram page and people DM me and they send me money. And
Yeah.
that's the beginning and end of the business.
Absolutely.
It's a side
And
hustle.
that's a side hustle.
Right,
do you get
right,
what I mean?
right.
But it's like once you become more aware of business models, you're kind of like, oh, there's a way to actually run a business where I don't even make the product. I don't even touch the product.
Don't even
I'm
see,
right,
don't
right.
smell it.
literally, I'm just the brains. Like you're
Yeah.
talking about, I've got hands and feet, but I'm just the brains.
Yeah.
And we can delve into a whole conversation about capitalism one other day. But I think that there's a place for us as women, especially in the new age, to kind of be like, you know what, we're actually going to get educated about business.
Yeah.
And like gain more knowledge, whether it's through the books on Audible or like actual courses, like your Skillshares. I'm currently doing a Harvard Business Online course. I opened so I'm doing 3 of them. This is my 3rd one, strategy execution. I opened that, they were talking some business jargon. I said,
Not the jargon.
Good afternoon.
and I've been a business
good
owner for how many
morning.
years? And
Yeah.
I opened that thing. I said, I actually don't
Don't
know
know any
what
of
you're
this.
What the heck you
talking
guys
about.
talking about?
Like, what's this? But it's like, if you're going to operate at an organizational level,
Right.
you got to realize you're building an organization. You got to know how to
100%.
organize, baby.
Yeah.
And
Leverage.
that's, yeah.
People go to school
But you're
for
good
this.
at that, Renee.
I love ops.
Yeah.
It is no secret that I am a big fan of systemization, operation, because I think these things are so key to sustainability, right? Like, I think oftentimes, the way that you put it and the way that you put it, Courtney, was perfect insofar as we think that we can simplify business. And this is not to delegitimize anyone that is an Instagram vendor or folks that are out here on social media. Get your money, sis. But in terms of if you can get the money at a higher level, in terms of if you can get to a place where this thing is not causing you burnout or this thing is not causing you issues further down the line, as it pertains to the legal element of it, as it pertains to the leverage element of it, right? When we think about systematization, it's not just about making things easier in the sense of I can actually operationally run, but it gives you leverage in terms of actually accessing further investment in the forms of different capital, right? So it might be social capital, where you're actually going to be able to engage with other people to work with you on your business. It might be financial capital, where you're actually able to present something to investors and say, give me X amount of money and I can 10X this revenue. I think we really do need to put our business hats on. And I think especially as women, not shy away from getting that operational understanding 100%. And building up that leverage. Leverage is so important, not just in business, but just in life in general. Really thinking about how can I leverage these relationships or this capital in a way that will actually 10x my return, but doesn't necessarily 10x my the amount of work that I'm putting into it, right? Look, working hard is nice, and we've spoken about it at length on the podcast. It's nice, but if all of us are out here talking about soft life, there's ways to operate well if you crack it, that whole,
Facts.
sustainability, if you operate well and you actually prioritize, systemizing, being operationally efficient, actually creating an organizational culture, I promise you will thrive, and it will make your life so much easier. 100%. And it doesn't even need to necessarily start with when you have a team. You start before you have the team. And that's where being a visionary comes into play. You need to have a vision for how these things are going to play out when you scale, but it doesn't mean that you wait until when you scale to have this vision.
Come on, the secret to a soft life is systems.
Systems.
That's what I've taken away from that.
Yeah, honestly.
So talk to us more about matters of the heart, because I know it's something you said that the Lord laid on your heart to start. It takes the form of a podcast, an exceptional podcast, and we're going to delve into one of your most recent episode topics. I was listening to it on a flight, and I was like, when I see Zoe, I'm going to talk to her about this.
Okay. I'm not even sure what episode it is.
You being a single babe.
Okay.
I was in M&S at Gatwick, and I was like, I can't wait to see Zoe so we could talk about this. No, Heathrow. So we could talk about this issue.
Not you remembering the exact
moment.
She spoke to your heart.
No, because you say it and then somebody will be like, there's no M&S at Gatwick, so where were you really? But no, I was touched because I was checking out and I was listening to her, and I remember stopping the checkout and being like, that's such a good point. And I think I even said it out loud. But we'll get into that. But talk to us about why you started it. And also, this is like your media thing that you've done outside of LFL.
Yeah.
So most people may have recognized Zoe's face because she was a part of my favorite YouTube trio.
Literally.
They no longer create content online. I'm waiting for them to come
that was an attack. Woo.
If you were
live and direct.
Beverly. I have the other one.
Not the first name. Not the first name. They kidnapped me now.
I call upon thee. Make time to make YouTube videos because the internet needs you guys.
Yeah, you guys got us through university.
Before there was a TMS, there was an LFL.
100%.
In terms of like your online sisters who were just talking sense, but you still felt like you were gisting. You still felt like they got it, but they were still thinking at a good place, you know?
Also, you guys were actually funny. Yeah. No, because there was a lot at that time. Exactly. At that time, in terms of like making content for people that were to like group content or like working together, there's so few, even now there's so few people that I see make content together that I'm like, I'm convinced that you guys have a relationship that is humorous, funny, and you know, all that kind of good stuff. But you guys were literally the blueprint insofar as it actually felt like you guys liked each other, you knew each other, and you were funny. It's rare. It's rare.
We're just naughty boys. Naughty boys in school, in the university, acting up, boisterous. Like,
so yeah, you three used to make YouTube videos together at university, and then y'all stopped.
Yeah.
So talk to me about like, talk to us about talk to us about what that was like transitioning to now creating content on your own.
LFL was like, my first walk on the internet. I was with literally, these are my friends, my sisters, we're all in the same pharmacy course. And so it was like just home. So when God kind of began to lead us in a different direction, I was literally terrified. I had to grieve LFL. I had to grieve the fact that I'm not with my sisters making content anymore. It was a really kind of a big adjustment. And the internet is a scary place. People are vicious on this place. They're vicious, they're nasty. And like, I think being on LFL, I always knew I've got my backup.
Yeah, you're doing this with someone.
No, but big facts, because there's some folks on this internet that will come for Courtney. I want to let you know you're coming for me too.
Yeah.
Dead ass. And vice versa. We're going to fight.
Yeah. So, you can never talk to me about any of my friends and vice versa. So there was this covering and this kind of protective gear that
I find it so interesting because like it's so easy to, if I see a comment that's like coming at Renee, I'm like, go. Like this is how could they? But when I see a comment that's like attacking me and Renee's the exact same, but when it just incites insecurity and like you're kind of scared and you not cower away as if it's cowardice, but like you retreat a bit because it reveals a lot of insecurities, or you're just hurt, as we are entitled to feel. And so there is that kind of comfort and protection that comes with doing something in collaboration with somebody.
100%. 100%. So that then changing into I'm building my own platform now. It was the only word I have is it was actually terrifying. It was terrifying, and I think it revealed a lot of insecurity in me. It revealed a lot of places in my own self-esteem where I didn't feel like I was good enough, you know, and I had to work through that because what's really your problem, Zoe? Why don't you really want to start the podcast?
Bruh.
Why don't you really want to do the YouTube videos? It's because, okay, the covering is gone, but you were never born with those two women in the womb at the same time. You're born as an individual. So why don't you want to do it? And it's because the truth was I didn't feel like I was good enough. Like, I thought I'm not the best speaker. Beverly in particular, she's an intellectual. She's really good at carrying these intellectual discourses, and like, I just didn't feel secure enough that would I be able to hold that kind of conversation with others, or would I be able to engage people in the same way? Because people didn't just come for me, they came for all of us. So will they want to still come and watch my content or engage with me because I'm not LFL anymore? Now I'm just Zoe, you know? So I had to overcome that that hurdle. And then also that thing I think of content, you're always looking for numbers. Or like, okay, we're getting videos in the tens of thousands, 100,000 views. And like, yeah, is it going to be the same? And if it's not the same,
we live in the ghetto.
Is inciting the wrath of the police on a Sunday at 5.
the ghetto.
I was just gonna go past. They sent a convoy.
So there's no helicopters coming soon.
Sorry, go on.
That's so funny. No, so but ultimately I had to deal with myself. And yeah, I was thinking, are they gonna come for me? Are people still gonna like come and show up to listen to me, to watch me? And if the numbers aren't translating to what I used to get, what is that saying about me? But that was letting me, it was God really just opening up a whole thing of, you need to deal with some insecurities in your identity. Because when did the numbers on a video begin to tell you about who you are? When did they start having the permission to tell you that you're less than, or you're not as smart, or you're not good enough, or you're not able? That doesn't equate to anything, you know? And so I had to get over that whilst launching Matters of the Heart. And yeah, so I started, and I mean, it's been going well. I can't complain.
I mean,
it's been growing, and I've been able to speak to so many amazing women.
Right.
And
So tell us what it is. Why did you start it? What's the thinking and vision behind it?
Okay, so I remember I was in the bath one day, go fasting with church.
All great ideas come.
honestly and truly,
In that bathroom,
it's always the
an
bathroom.
anointing.
It's actually the bathroom, genuinely. You know when you're showering
I don't know
or
what
in the
it
hot tub or
is.
something, the steaminess, your best like moments just come.
Always.
Man.
So same thing for me. I mean, you guys are not strangers to the bathroom. Enlightenment.
That would be a course for
enlightenment. But yeah, I was in the bathroom, and then I just felt like the Lord was speaking to me about just starting this platform. That people sometimes, I think, in the church might think you're just supposed to be bold and courageous and have all of your stuff together, but God is concerned with the issues of our heart, which is why it's called Matters of the Heart. That He wants to address the matters of our heart, because I think as well sometimes we go out into the world in the body, and we sometimes can cause more harm to other people.
Talk about it.
Because we aren't whole, because we haven't addressed our wounds, because we've never unpacked and healed our trauma, and we begin to like harm the people that we should really be helping. And so when the Lord began to release that into my heart, I'm like, yeah, like let's do something about it. Let's speak to women specifically, because I know that I have like a call upon my life for women. And so then out of that, Matters of the Heart was birthed.
That's beautiful.
That spoke to my heart.
Oh.
That's like my favorite comment to say. Oh my gosh, Matters of the Heart really speaks to my heart. Like I really love that. But actually following up on that, and just you describing your experience, obviously from transitioning from LFL to Matters of the Heart, I think one thing that we often kind of skip over when we're thinking about overcoming is ending well, and thinking about how do we end things in a good place, right? And I think what's been beautiful to see between you and your sisters out here is whilst you've been able to end something online, offline, it seems that you guys have a really strong sisterhood and friendship, and that's something that I've really loved seeing, loved being a part of. I'm like, okay, you guys don't get to see LFL, but I see them in real life because I like them. So it would be great to hear from you. What was that process of ending well in order to start afresh, or maybe transition into something slightly new? And what would be, I guess, your I guess, practical tips around how do I end something well? Because I think there's quite a few people that are interested in maybe transitioning, moving, pivoting, all that kind of stuff. But how do you end well in order to move forward?
I think, if my sisters will permit me to say, we all struggled in this process. I don't want to give any kind of false perspective, because it's like you're seeing the end of the end now.
So but the end was a whole process.
Yeah, it was an adjustment period, and I think it was a grieving process for all of us. It was hard for all of us, but I think what helped us is that we had open conversations about where we were, about how we felt during the time, and I think realistically, I can't speak in terms of what they were thinking, but what I accepted was that these are my sisters. I know they're going to be in my life for the rest of my life. And it just, I think for a while, it just felt like there was tension, if you know what I mean, in the relationship. But I knew it wasn't going to last forever. And so I think I've learned to give relationships in my life like space to breathe. You know, sometimes you can get so frustrated, like you want it to be good and like for us to be jovial and like exactly how it was before, but the reality is there's been it's almost like a divorce. It's been a divorce, it's been a breakup of something, you know, that was so meaningful and close to all of our hearts. It can't be the same immediately. And so I would think that really helped me to embrace and to accept what was happening. That's so good. And it was still really difficult, but I think just keeping in my mind that these are my friends. I didn't start my channel with them just because we wanted to have a YouTube channel. Yeah, we were friends who started a channel. So I'm like, regardless of anything, we started as friends. This friendship has to be maintained. I think all of us have kept that in our hearts and continue to pursue relationship with each other, and then just grown to like embrace our new normal and support each other in all the rest of our endeavors. And so I think in terms of like, if I could have ended better, I think always communication is key, like we always say for everything. It depends. It's so hard to say ending well because ending different things, you know. Just communicate, be honest, be open, give yourself room to change, give yourself room to grieve an old thing, and grow into a new thing. And I would say there's a level of vulnerability that comes upon you when you're stepping into a new place. Be mindful about the things that you start believing about the people around you and yourself in the midst of that newness. Very good. Because you feel vulnerable. When there's so much is shifting at once. So don't allow any lies to like seep into your psyche. Keep yourself accountable, if it's to like another friend or to a mentor who can just keep you grounded. You know, I spoke to my mentor at length about it, you know, and she helped me sometimes have like grace for my friends, and like where I felt maybe disappointed or something like that. She just helped me to have grace. And she's like, these people are your sisters, if you know what I mean. Like the way she was speaking to me, it was like, it opened up my mind. It stopped me from going down a way of thinking that wouldn't have been fruitful. And so yeah, just communicate, have people around you to speak into your life, and give yourself that space to adjust and to change. So yeah.
Man, that's beautiful. So then, since we're here talking about the LFL trio, the iconic people that are you, Bev, and Uvier, Bev recently got engaged.
She did. Be back. Come on.
Honestly, and Uvier organized her proposal.
It
was
beautiful.
Just a beautiful thing. I had the privilege
Watch
of
on
being there.
TikTok.
I sang.
Yeah.
And it was so nice to just see them. She was so in love. She was so excited. But you told us something which was very interesting, which is that even though she got engaged, people are now on your neck about your relationship status. Talk to us. What's the aftermath? What has Bev now put you in?
What have you done to my life now, man?
Where is the pressure getting worse?
As it increasing?
Where is it?
I'm just posting my friend. I'm excited. My sister, we've talked about this in uni. We've sat up nights talking about, oh my God, getting married. Like, oh my God, my sister's getting married. This is crazy. I'm posting my friend just in celebration of her. People are now in my DMs. You next. I mean, thank you. But personally, okay, stay out of my relationship status. Like, why do I have to be next now? Like, I didn't quite understand
Focus on the task at hand.
I mean,
like,
I don't know. I feel like people love so much. They're just waiting like for a love story to like emerge out of your life at all times. It just puts on this pressure.
right.
Like I don't know where next is for me. So you just need to give your sister a break.
So this is the episode that I was listening to.
Right.
So you talking about you being single, and you were talking about the fact that so many people ask you, why are you not married? Why are you not married? And so how do you, girl, talk to us?
I'm screaming. Look, even though he's talk to us. I think also in the aftermath of, Valentine's Day and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this is a time where people naturally start talking about love and all that kind of stuff. But it would be good to hear, your perspective on navigating that minefield and love.
I mean, where do you start with that mess? The ghetto.
Not starting the ghetto.
I mean, there's so much to cover. Like, where do you even start with this?
I think a good place to start could be, we were talking about this shortly before we just started recording, which was being high flying, loving God. You're working at business, you're being impactful, you're doing all the things, you're working in community, you're serving in ministry, you're doing all of these things, and then you're single. And I guess that people kind of think like relationship reward as a reward to your service, your development, your growth, and you are mature, you are accomplished. So I guess starting there, do you feel like there's a place, whether it's expectations you had for yourself in your own life or that people put onto you, which is you've reached this stage in your life, marriage kind of just fits as a perfect puzzle piece into the picture?
I think it's both. I think I had expectations. I think as many of us had that, 25, I'm going to be married. So that age has come and gone. I'm closer to 30 now. And that didn't happen for me at the time I thought it was going to happen. So I think I let that go and began to embrace singleness and began to enjoy it, And so when it happens, it happens. But then there's also this external pressure from like family. Zoe, my grandma, like, honestly, I love you, grandma, but man, shout out to you. Every time she sees me,
Grandma Zoe,
like every 3 days, like no boyfriend.
Wow, she's giving you 3 days.
And she'd be
not 3 days.
She said in the next 3 days I see you.
Something should have changed in your life.
She has an alarm. Somebody gave her a prophecy. She said in 3 days.
In 3 days.
Like, which 3 days?
And on the third day, there should be literally. But it's that people keep asking what's happening, because I think it's just the fact that in our parents' culture, like back home, if you're a pretty girl, you've gone to school, you're eligible for marriage. You finished university, men should be flocking around you. You should even be having a selection of different men to pick from.
Different suitors.
And you're telling me that you have none. They're getting worried. They're like, what's going on?
That's actually a good point. Yeah.
So they're like,
they are alarmed.
Yeah, my mum even was like to me, you don't go out. You should go out, go out more so that you can
not hit the clubs.
Yeah, hit the clubs.
Leave the nice blazer at home.
Said you've been wearing those fitted chic for church.
Where's that look crop top?
Bring the crop top on Saturday, May Day.
They get a good sense. So there is that external pressure from like family and just people who have this expectation that you should be married by now. But I mean, who made these rules?
Right.
Right. I don't know who had written my life story and said that by this certain age and by this certain time I had to be married. But there definitely is that pressure. And I think for a while I felt like I was disappointing my family. A big thing about me, like you do Enneagram stuff. I think Beverly told me about your Enneagram 3.
Yes, yeah.
I'm also Enneagram 3.
Okay,
yeah.
I have no idea what any of this means, but
it's like how would you describe it?
It's like a personality test.
Yeah.
That just, again, like E-Myth tells you about yourself.
It tells you about
yourself. I think what Bev is the Enneagram evangelist.
I'm screaming.
Anyone that I know who has done the Enneagram test,
Bev told them,
yeah. And so it
She's
kind of tells you, the reason why she says she likes it is because it tells you about your personality, but it also tells you about the negative parts, like the things that may be harder to swallow. So I think it's great insight, and there's a lot of things. When I read that PDF they said I said, who told you my business?
Get out of my life.
Red for filth.
Literally, yeah. Enneagram 3.
Need to do it.
Yeah, please.
It's insightful. But yeah, I'm an Enneagram 3, so I'm like quite success driven, and so me not being married at this point started to feel like failure for me. And where I didn't have the successful relationships. Different if, I would be married if my relationships were successful, but the fact that it's like, oh, it wasn't working out for me. I began to feel like I'm failing and like, oh, am I disappointing my family? Because, you know, I want them to be able to boast about me to their friends and to other family members, say, yeah, Zoe's married and she's got kids, and I don't have that. Even though I've got a lot of other things that I've done, this just felt like an area of my life where I wasn't showing up. So yeah.
Wow. And so how do you feel like that has kind of bred a comparison, especially with the people kind of DMing you like, oh, you're next, or, you know, someone very close to you has gone through a moment of success, not even to just, you know, put a spotlight on Bev, but it's like, do you feel like with women in general, when you start to see the people around you that maybe you grew up with or around your age going through stuff, and it's like, oh, what about me? Does that ever creep in, or has that ever crept in? Yeah,
I think definitely, because there's even a point where it's like suddenly like all my friends seem to have a boyfriend. And I'm like, Lord.
It's like, did you?
Hello.
I'm like, if you can, I don't think there's any human being that can say that they wouldn't ask God at that point, hello? Is this
being left out?
Is this a season that's upon us? Hello, am I part of this?
I see what you have done for others.
You know.
What about me?
Yeah, what about me? So I think I'm happy for my sisters. Like I love seeing them being loved well and like experience something so sweet and so precious in their lives. But I'm like, this is something that I desire as well. So I definitely had that moment where it's like, okay, God, what about me? But I ensure that my self-talk is productive at all times and it's positive. So I'm like, their timeline for their life is not my timeline, and just because it's happening for them right now, that doesn't mean it has to happen for me right now, and doesn't mean that God's forgotten me because it isn't happening for me, because again, we're not on the same time schedule. And so just enjoy it with them, just encourage them, just be happy for them, because there's a time that's coming and you'll also get to enjoy that part, you know. So I think I've learned to guard my heart from those thoughts and feelings, because you don't want to end up being jealous and envious of your own friends. That's a horrible place to be, you know. So I think what I've learned actually is I enjoy journeying with my friends through like the peaks and like the troughs of their life. So even you get to learn so much being close to your friends and they're in relationships. Like even I've been in maybe more relationships than my friends who might be in relationships now. So I'm able to give them advice. This is how you manage this. This is how you manage conflict, or, you know, this is how you have to pet these guys. You know, just don't be too aggressive with them. Sometimes you're gonna have to be a bit soft,
that
like
so funny.
butter them up a little bit, give them a little bit of words of affirmation. So I'm able to journey with them and experience this great thing in their life with them, you know. So yeah.
And that's a great note to people who are like, oh, you know, when you're married, your single friends can't really offer you much. Clearly,
yes, they can.
They can offer you a lot more than you think. But one question that popped into my head was, how do you train your self-talk to be productive? Because that sounds like something you've really
had to work out.
So how do you do that intentionally?
Yeah, I've had to really train myself how to think. I've had to learn how to stop living by my feelings. And it's something I heard somebody say, and it's really shifted my life, that emotions are indicators and not dictators, that they highlight to us when there's an issue or when we might need to address something, but they don't have the power. That's how I see it. They don't have the power to control my life. And I realized, unless you let it. Yeah. So I realized how much I'd been letting emotions govern my life. When I feel like this, I think like this, and suddenly how I was made to feel in a certain circumstance was now shifting my identity. And so I'm like, I cannot continue on that way. Like, I've got things to do. I've got places to go. I've got missions to accomplish. And if I don't learn how to get a hold of my mind and the way I think, I'm going to be trapped. Like, I think mindset is so important. And the things that most of us want to achieve in our lives is behind a shift in our mindset. And so I've had to literally just speak like words of truth from like the word of God over myself consistently, continue to affirm myself, and like you said, train myself, discipline myself how to think differently. And so I think it all starts for me. And like, when I have a thought, giving myself the room, okay, I might feel, oh, am I good enough? Or that thing of, oh God, why me? Why not me? Have you forgotten me? And then it's like, okay, why do I feel like that? Is that jealousy? Is that insecurity? Is that like an undealt wound? You know, maybe have I always felt overlooked in my life, and this just was like another occasion, you know? And then so just giving myself time to process that feeling, and then saying, well, in terms of, especially like as a Christian, well, logically, I know based on truth, God is always with me. He says my name is inscribed on his hand, so it's impossible for him to forget about me. So I use the truth of God's word. I use the truth that I know about who I am in him to replace all of the negativity, to replace all of the negative or counterproductive thoughts that I have that would stop me from being who I need to be in my life. So it definitely takes practice, and I'm sure you guys know it's not something that one morning you wake up and it's suddenly positive Pamela. Like you can just you just
not positive Pam.
no, you know, but you have to keep working at it. And especially when you're entering into new seasons of your life, you're taken to places you've never been before. I'm telling you, the insecurities will rise up like a flood.
A roaring lion that you
roaring, that imposter syndrome you thought you had conquered in level 2 is back in level 5, and it's growing muscles. Like
not the final boss.
The final boss.
You've been chopping since I left you.
You've been trading.
Man, you know,
it's actually such a good point. It's
so
like full
funny.
circle to what we were talking about the business.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You finally get over these insecurities to start the business, and now
And
you're
then
running the business, and then there's more insecurities to grow it.
yeah, literally.
Not the adding to the soil,
Amen.
the negative soil. But I love what we were speaking about earlier around how for many of us as women, we often see relationships as rewards. And oftentimes, especially if you're someone that has been through, you know, a number of relationships, it can feel a little bit disheartening when things don't work out, or you've been through traumatic or just experiences that can taint your view of relationships. So I'd love to hear more from you around, I guess, how do you view some of these relationships you've had in the past, and just thinking about just thinking about, you know, like, you know, because oftentimes, especially as women, we're definitely sometimes prone to thinking, oh, is this one going to be the one? Right? Am I going to be the wife to his husband finally? Like, is he going to be, you know, the one I've been looking for? So how have you, I guess, now dealt with potentially negative relationships or relationships that haven't necessarily worked out to the way that you wanted them to?
Such a good question.
It is a very good question. Like, some of the relationships I've been in have actually been very traumatizing for me.
My God.
Is there anyone that we need to run up on?
No, don't worry.
Also, there's
the
people we need to
sisters
run
come
up
strong,
on.
don't
Yeah,
they?
they really do.
There's nobody. Don't worry. Like, they're like, where is he?
Not the gangs with the pitchfork hands. What's it? All I need is his address.
Ciao.
That's all I
Even
need.
the first name, someone will find something.
Someone will find it.
I mean,
and you know they'll do the connect the dots on the internet.
They'll
They'll be like,
find
I can
something.
see that your finger was in
following.
this,
In this.
photo
Yeah.
in 2016
Facts.
in this.
And I've also found his auntie. And
my
his sister.
God, these family members, kill them all.
Yeah.
I mean, it was what it was. There's so much to this because I think some of my relationships were more traumatizing for me because of my expectations, like you had said, in terms of like, this was supposed to be my this is it relationship. This was supposed to be, you're taking me off the markets, you know, I'm out of this game. And it was so devastating for it to not become that. So how have I kind of dealt with relationships? I've had to just learn that not every man you meet is going to be your husband. And that one is an exhale.
Liberate somebody.
Not every man you meet is going to be your husband. Just, I feel like someone needs to just
I'm telling you.
inhale it and exhale. Yeah, that was some deliverance.
Breathe in. And then breathe the expectation out.
Ruminate on it.
Yeah, just
not ruminate.
Ruminate on it.
Meditate, if you will.
meditate if you will, even if you really want him to be. Even if it's everything that you want.
Right.
Even if he's just as tall as you want, the skin is as light or as dark as you want, even if the muscles, the coin he's got, like everything. It just because you've met him doesn't mean that he's going to be your husband.
That's good.
And I think you just going into the dating field, I would say, with that mindset is very liberating because I've just learned to enjoy the people that I meet and just take it for what it is, and not make it something before it is something. And I think I found that when I was going in there like, he has to be my husband and this has to work out, it just creates for me so many blind spots that I'm trying to work through problems that are red flags.
That's good.
This problem is a get out of here now while you can, while you're still alive. or your mind is still in order.
Come on.
Leave now.
Yeah.
But because it's like, no, this has to work out. This has to be it for me. You're staying. And then there comes the wound and there comes the hurt because you keep ignoring the fact that maybe you're dealing with a broken person who needs to go and do some inner work on themselves, you know? So I think what has changed for me mostly in this area is that I've decided what I want in a partner. And I assess every person I meet based on that, what I want. Like, do I want someone that's funny or like, and it's more about the person's character than it is like the accolades or the things that they have, because of course, like I'm not just trying to date for fun, I'm trying to date for marriage. So I'm looking at, does this person have the character of somebody I would want my children to model their lives after? This is what I'm looking for. And so I'm like, this is what I want. I'm looking for something that's serious. I want something that's committed. And if that person isn't demonstrating to me that that's what they want, I'm out of there like a speed of light. You ain't got to tell me twice now. Before I'm like, oh, hang around. Let's hope and pray like the person can change. Nope. If you are not demonstrating to me that you want something long term or that you're someone that is suitable for me, I'm out of there, if you know what I mean. So, and I think having the perspective as a woman in a relationship that, hey, actually, the relationship isn't just a reward to me. And like, I think we're often made to feel like if we're not married or we're not in a relationship, like something's wrong with us. And we're made to feel like we're not the prizes in the relationship. No, sorry. I am the prize.
Come on.
I'm so sorry.
Big energy.
I'm like, even the word of God says that he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. So there's something about me that as I come into the, connection and communion with this man, something even shifts into his life that the Lord opens up favor for him.
Hello, somebody.
I am the
brothers.
prize here.
Hello, brothers
Why
that
are
have
so many
been.
people resistant to that?
Do you know what?
I don't know why
It's
so
called
hard.
pick and choosing. And what was it that we talked about? E for incompetence. Because no, guys, E for incompetence. Because they will read the part that says, wives submit to your husbands, but they will forget that there is a real power that is something that they can attest to when a woman that is a wife enters into their life. And I think it's the whole having your cake and eat it, right? It's the whole, I can have a wife, I can have someone that is essentially a servant and not necessarily a partner or a powerful force of good in my life, right? And it also diminishes the power of woman.
Right. And I don't have to treat her as such.
Exactly.
As if she was. But even more like wider, like socially, culturally, it feels like so much is being done to make women feel as though they aren't that. Like I think of all the rhetoric, the Kevin Samuels, the red pill, like all the stuff that we talk about on the podcast, where it's like you're average, and kind of this cultural brainwashing that is you're not all that. Like lower your expectations. It's what we're talking about in this week's episode, right? Lower your expectations, settle, and like all of these things which are there to remind women. So I think even training your mind to remind yourself you are the prize is actually a constant discipline that you have to have. And it's not just a matter of affirmation either. It really does come in that grounding of what do I want for my future? And if I encounter something that isn't that, am I willing to walk away?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And a lot of people
absolutely aren't. Oh, that's such a good point. And I think might be controversial. I might get it. I don't think it's that controversial, but the way that these internet trolls be coming for you anyways on their burner account. I know somebody's loaded. But I think
is buffering them right now. They're doing exercises.
But it definitely acknowledging the power of womanhood demands more from men. And men are not willing to, some men, those ones that are very vocal about pulling women down a peg are not willing to do the work to meet the women at their level, right? It's the whole, I am getting a little bit upset and intimidated by the fact that, I am feeling disenfranchised and I am feeling as though, that's what it is. Disenfranchised. I am feeling as though, I'm not at the top. So rather than working to be at the top factually, they are trying to pull people down below them so they can feel and manufacture that feeling of being powerful. And I think it's so unfortunate because surely if you see a woman that is absolutely excelling in all fields, a good person and a good husband would see that as an opportunity to grow and become a better person, a better man, a better husband. But so often in society, we are plagued by men that are threatened by women when 100%. Really they should be inspired to be better men, and vice versa, right? Where women will, see an upstanding, and this is why a lot of women are punching, quote unquote, or looking for men, right? And the fact that you have these standards, it's because you're thinking about that future. You are thinking about not just your current development, but your development in the future. I'm not just looking for a partner now, I'm looking for a partner for the rest of my life. So of course my standards are going to be high. Of course I'm going to be looking for character, because it's not your looks or your money that will sustain you, it's your character that will sustain 100%. You over the next few years. So it frustrates me so much, because if only men really understood the power that comes in uniting with a woman on that, in that basis, we would have so much more wholeness.
100%. And a lot of times, like, the criticism that women receive is you need to have bigger standards. You need to have but what is the point of having bigger standards if people don't want to meet them, right? And people aren't willing to do that work to not just make themselves better, but to make society better on a whole. 100%. And so if we know that the remedy to society being better is people becoming better, it actually needs to be a wider group effort. And I think you're the perfect example. We're good examples of the fact that women are trying, like they're trying to be not just better people for men, but better people for everybody. Do you get what I mean? And it's like this whole glowing and growing journey. We're trying to be better for, you know, our friends. We're trying to be better for ourselves. We're trying to be better for maybe our future children, or for the work and the businesses and the organizations that we want to create. And it's like, we have to dedicate ourselves to that pursuit. And a lot of people are not willing to put in the work, but also it's a key word that you mentioned earlier, which is humility, right? Even when it comes to realizing in business, you're not good enough. What does it require? Humility. In relationships, you might not be, you know, where you want to be for the person you desire. That requires a level of humility. And I think people are using the internet to humble women, but it's not humility, it's shame. And I think a lot of times we can get the two mixed up, where it's like, no, you feel ashamed. You're not humbling yourself. You're not acknowledging that there's a flaw. Because the thing about humility still allows you to get up and get better. Do you get what I mean? Humility still allows you to say, okay, that's an area of weakness, so how do we go into the gym and shoot up and get stronger? But shame is like, nah, stay down. And like, I think that's where people want a lot of women and people to be at, where it's like, nah, stay down. Like, it's a complete sign of your intrinsic value, and you'll never be worth more than that. And it's like, nah, that's not what we're gonna do over here, and that's not what we're gonna believe about ourselves. And so it really is pertinent that you said you got to train your self-talk to be productive, because so many voices in the world are just telling you something else, and if you're not careful, you begin to sound like that. Right. So to close off today's episode, first installment of Girls Night In, you, out of Matters of the Heart, you have a branch called She Overcomes.
I do.
Tell us more about that, madam.
Okay, She Overcomes. So it's like a membership. It is a.
Come on now, you better come with that boldness.
That positive talk.
Come on, Pamela. Positive power. Let's go.
She Overcomes is a membership. It's a coaching program where I provide group coaching for women who want to overcome. I'm grateful to God that I've been able to overcome a range of just different things in my life. And I feel like so many women have felt for so long they've been stuck. I can't get past this depression. I can't get past this feeling of brokenness or this low self-esteem. And they just need a place where they can be taught, where they can speak and they can commune with other women. And so She Overcomes is that.
It's a sisterhood.
It's a sisterhood, yeah.
Love it.
So yeah, it's amazing. I have amazing women that I have the privilege of teaching and speaking to and praying with. And so yeah, it's a community if you want to join.
Literally. That's why I was bringing it up, because I think a lot of the girls who are part of, or the women who are part of this global community, this digital community, can still benefit so much with your care, your expertise, but also being a part of that sisterhood as well. And because it's all one at the end of the day, like you're a part of our sisterhood, and so we trust what you do. And so if you are looking for something to plug into, the links are going to be in the description and the show notes, because Zoe, she's amazing. And she will help you overcome. But the reason why I brought that up was to end this episode, I would like for you to share 3 things that you would tell women of nowadays, our generation, 3 tips, lessons that you've learned, so that they can overcome whatever it is that they're currently going through.
Okay, I'll start with this one, because this is what came to my mind first of all. Stop thinking about what other people think about you. What do you think about yourself? And I think we often have a more positive outlook on ourselves than we think we do. But most of the time we're meditating on how people made us feel, or what maybe people said to us.
That's so good.
When we stop and think about who we actually are, we think, I'm not too shabby actually. And so start to meditate and think more about what you think about yourself, and let that drive your life, let that drive your decision making, let that be what helps you to create standards in your life for your not just romantic relationships but all relationships in your life, and how you operate and show up in the world. I think that was really a game changer for me. So I'll tell that to women. I think what came to my heart, so secondly, is that you are loved. You are so loved. I know you guys have like a multi-faith audience, which is amazing. I love that so much. Really diverse audience. But I will just say to women, I feel like we're made to feel unloved a lot of the time and unwanted, but you're so loved. And I think that if a lot of women knew more that they were loved and they operated out of that knowledge, that revelation, again, they'd show up with more confidence. And it would also help to stabilize our emotions and our self-esteem. So know that at any given point in your life, no matter what you've done, no matter where you go, you are always loved beyond measure. I would say there's a God out there who loves everything about you, everything you think is not good enough, that you think is small, that you think that needs to change. It's loved by someone that has made you. So just know that you are loved. The final thing I'll say is this. I've been reading a book about mindset. So there's two types of mindsets that we can have as people: a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. With all of your heart, please seek to adopt a growth mindset in your life. A growth mindset is what we need as entrepreneurs, because it allows you to remain in that place of humility, malleability, where it's like, I don't have to be the best at everything always. I'm allowed to grow. I'm allowed to adapt. I'm allowed to evolve and become the best of everything. And if we have a fixed mindset, maybe one failure or one thing or situation in our life can trip us up to make us feel like we aren't good enough to show up in another place.
Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. Or make us feel, that we aren't able to grow and learn and just move forward in our life. So you might not be the best right now at handling your emotions. You might not be the best at public speaking. You might not be the best at writing, or if it's coding you're doing, whatever you're doing. But you can always get there. You can always grow. You can grow into the woman that you want to be. You don't have to be her right now, but you can commit to yourself to growing into her every single day. If that's developing a positive state of mind and adapting positive self-talk into your life, if it's praying, if it's building community with other women, if it's going to study, whatever it is, you can grow into who you want to be. So don't allow anything that's happened in your life to make you feel like you are stuck being who you are right now. It's a big lie. You can change, you can grow, you can evolve. And so always seek to have a growth mindset. You are adaptable, and where you are now in your life is not always where you're going to be, but you have to just commit to grow and commit to having a mindset that is willing and brave enough to continuously grow. So yeah.
Spoken like a true third sister. As you can see, this is
beautiful.
The reason why we have Zoe on the show, but also as one of our own sisters, ma'am.
Honestly, thank you. Just thank you so much for this. Is not going to be the last time you're on this podcast, by the way.
I mean,
we have only scratched the surface of the woman, the legend, the icon, the prophetess that is Zoe.
I'm a fool. Jesus.
Yes. Come on now.
But for real, thank you. Thank you so much for just being not only here, but showing up on the internet as someone that people can listen to and also see the heart of. So I know you talk about God sees our hearts and cares about our hearts, but you have really shared your heart with the internet over years. And so thank you for showing up and doing that so authentically and so generously. You are very generous. Like I said, we've only scratched the surface of your story, but you've created such transparent content and vulnerable content, which you didn't have to share with anybody. And so thank you for sharing your journey. The fact that whilst you have been figuring it out, you have still been sharing. So just thank you for that and keep that up.
Oh, thanks.
I support you.
100%. So I know you guys know, well, hopefully you know where to follow the sisterhood and how to plug in and follow us on socials, but on the screen is Zoe's socials.
Come on,
we want you to follow and support everything that she does. We're not giving her a shout out just because she is our friend, but genuinely she's a woman of excellence. You know, we don't support rubbish.
No, but we said this at the beginning of the episode, and I think we need to reiterate that, you know, the folks that we bring onto this, you know, platform in our community, they have been vetted. And vetted in the sense of personal, professional, all that kind of stuff.
We've known Zoe for years.
Known her for years.
We actually all went to the same secondary school.
Honestly and truly, we go way back. We go way back.
We all went to the same secondary, not at the same time, but like we all went to the same.
I think we did. But I was in upper sites.
Yeah, we were in lower site. Yeah, when we were just baby girls,
small babies, something. Just rugrats.
So I will never forget the day you said that on LFL, and I was like, I'll say Anne. Yeah. St. Anne's girls.
There you go, St. Anne's girls. Specific St. Anne's girls. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, not everybody.
Don't be getting any funny ideas. Don't get funny ideas.
But honestly, please go and support everything that Zoe does. If you are looking for stationary services, specifically wedding services, Printy Planet should be your go-to. Because like we said, we've been to weddings. Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent.
I'm blushing. Black girl blushing. Black girl blushing.
But sisters, we hope that you have enjoyed watching this. Let us know your thoughts. We will be back with some more episodes with some very, very fun guests.
Absolutely.
And sisters. But as always, you want to share the edge? We just say keep glowing and glowing.
Yeah, keep glowing and
keep glowing and keep growing.
Alluring to. Did you hear that bass? Wow, it's giving tones.
That's a wrap, y'all.
A wrap, guys.
Oh, that was so fun, guys.
That was too fun.
I was giving radio. It's like radio advert.